Hello everyone, this is the Moon Mama, and it is, I believe, Ascension moment number 9. Can't believe there's 9 already. So this episode, what I want to talk about briefly is about food, because I have quite a bit of knowledge on food. I'm organic, and I would say that we probably eat, 98% organic. And then, of course, there are some foods that are just, what we try and do is anytime that we don't eat organic food, we try and make sure that it's, we make sure that it's non-GMO. So I want to talk a little bit about that and maybe give a little bit of my story with food and how I kind of got started with really looking and analyzing my food. I'm like most people who came from a background of, buying things being part of a big family, and you tend to buy things that are cheap. And we are really the most overfed and undernourished nation because of that. When we have $100, we expect our cart to be, full, if not overflowing with food, because we literally can do that when we go to places, like Walmart or Target, literally you can do that in any supermarket except Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. And there's a reason for that. So the first thing is I'll give a little bit of my story with food, and I'll kind of give cliff notes. I was raised, eating just basic, my father cooked pretty good, but still, it was, no one heard of organic back then. I don't even know if it existed during that time. But I think as things got progressed on, where people were trying to mass produce everything, and that kind of factory mentality has really picked up in the last 10 years. I think there was more need for people to stand up for wholesome food. And so I can't tell you the evolution of organic food by any means, but I just can tell you the evolution in my own background is that we're like everyone else out there. You're part of a family, you're trying to keep costs down, your family tries to feed you healthy foods, but at the same time there's not a lot of raw vegetables, there's very little raw fruit, at least in our family. Everything was canned, and in our household, the meat was always pretty much burnt. And that was fine with me because I never liked it anyway. And I've since transitioned. At a certain point, actually a couple times, I tried to go vegetarian. Well, I'd say 2 times. The first time was right out of high school, and I didn't know anything about food. And so if you're going to do that, you have to really understand how you're going to get your protein in, because there's a lot of people who go vegetarian and they're very unhealthy because they're trying to live off potatoes and cheese for their protein, and they don't really have a concept of what you need to do in order to be healthy and choose to eat a meat-free diet. And the other problem with that is people who tend to utilize all the prepackaged vegetarian proteins. So one of the things I'll just say right now is that if you are a vegetarian and you're relying on protein substituted meats from prepackaged foods, keep in mind that the first thing is that if you're using Morningstar, you need to consider Morningstar as a junk food. It's not a health food. So for instance, if I buy anything from Morningstar, it's the bacon, and I buy it fully aware that it's GMO and fully aware that it is a junk food item. Which to me is equivalent to someone eating bacon. It's full of fat and it's not good for you, and so when you're eating it that it's not something that you're eating because it's good for your health. You're eating it because you love the taste of it. The difference with Morningstar bacon is that it's very low in fat. Because there's no meat fat in it, and with vegetarian cooking you often have to add the fat in for the chemistry of being able to cook it properly. And I can do a whole other segment on maybe vegetarian cooking and stuff. So, but right now I just want to move forward and with my history. So, fast forward, I met my husband. Um, he had gone to the culinary academy, and he used to say that I was the best out of the box chef he'd ever met because I was still cooking, green beans out of the can and creamed corn out of the can and trying to think what else. Mac and cheese out of the box, and then I would add, turkey meat because that was really the only thing that I could ever make myself without being disgusted by meat products. I grew up not liking meat and ate very little of meat. I was pretty much force-fed it when I was young and would chew and kind of spit it into napkins as much as possible. So I was never a big fan of eating meat. In fact, I felt like it hurt my feelings to eat it. So as I got older, and I met my husband who had a better relationship with food, and I started learning more about food, and then started feeling like I ate very little meat already, but just was being pulled to switch to a vegetarian diet. It required me to learn. I had to give myself an education on food while I was changing it, and actually before I had to look at what is the right way to do it. How do you get your protein? How do vegetarians do it? What things do they cook? What things are available? And so I started my education that way, and what happened was it developed a relationship with food that I had never had before. That education in vegetarian cooking, got me interested in, understanding herbs and spices, because I felt like a lot of people don't like vegetarian cooking because of the consistency and maybe the taste or an aftertaste. And so I just was voracious for trying every product on the market and trying to find the ones that tasted the most like the food I was used to eating, to get people to see that it could taste good. And also just same time, really understanding nutritional facts and how much protein is good protein, and what are all the stories. You hear different things, tofu or no tofu, and all these personal decisions that you have to make when you're choosing food. But another motivation for me too was also that I was raising children who to that point had, just like me, had no real relationship with food. And we would still occasionally get McDonald's and thought that was a nice treat, and which is something that I haven't had forever and now totally disgusts me when I think about it. And my kids, have learned to love vegetarian cooking, although I've never demanded that they become vegetarian, and none of them are, but they are very open to vegetarian cooking, and that's important. For me, I didn't want to be like a vegetarian snob, which some people are really afraid of, that they're sitting at a table next to you and you don't eat meat and they're apologizing. And it's like, you don't need to apologize. I don't have any kind of, feeling about what you're doing. It's completely a personal choice. And, if anyone is open to hearing about healthy, options, or choosing meats that are more humanely, taken care of and are treated, in a certain way so that their lives are, up until, of course, the time that they're slaughtered, their lives are what they would have experienced if they were free range and were not used as a food source. So, being humane is important to me, but I don't judge anybody for the meats that they eat. I just think that that's silly, and you don't win anyone over by doing that. And it's just like in nature, everything exists, and this is one of the ways that I explain. I've had people, when I crossed over to being vegetarian, it was weird that people were so psychologically connected to being meat eaters that they felt like because you said you were a vegetarian that it was an attack on their lifestyle. And I don't get that anymore. I think it was more of something I had to learn that helped propel me into understanding nature of the way we eat. And I learned that lesson, so thus I moved forward into other things. But at the time, it would really stump me of why are people so, like upset when they hear me that I don't eat vegetarian food. So one person actually said to me, "Well, it's not natural that you don't eat meat. Even the animals in the even the wild animals, they eat meat." So it made me think about, okay, let's take a look at nature. Well, my response in return was that is true, that animals in the wild do eat meat, but the animals that you eat are vegetarian. Okay, so if you're eating a cow or you're eating a pig or you're eating a chicken, you have to keep in mind that those animals are vegetarian. And so what that should tell all of us is that all things exist in nature. Everything. We've got, you've got the animals that eat meat. We have the animals that eat only a vegetarian diet. And that should go to show you that if the animal kingdom is that way, so is the human kingdom. Some people eat meat, some people don't eat meat. Some people are more drawn to a vegetarian diet with maybe only fish. And then there's other people that need meat in their diet regularly, and that's what they're drawn to, and they love that. So that should take away any element of judgment. When you can look at nature and see that all things exist in nature, then it's just as reasonable that all things should exist in humanity and in society. So you just develop a thing of letting everyone choose what's right for them, and that's another reason why I've never pushed it on my children. However, at home, I'm the chef. So if I'm the chef, they're going to be getting vegetarian meals. If they ever wanted meat, then my husband would go out and purchase meat for them, but it was under the understanding that we purchase a higher quality where the animals were either organic or humane certified. And even with organic label, there's a level of that in there that is not humane, but that's like for another podcast. There's a lot of... on Netflix, there's a lot of what do you call them, documentaries where you can see what the organic label in the meat kingdom, or the slaughtering of animals, what that really means. And there are some practices in there that are really hard to watch, so it really is an education. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is we want to try and go organic as much as possible, because when we say organic, it means that they have a certain percentage that they are able to actually use pesticides. People don't know that. Usually they think it means 0 pesticides, but that's not always the case. Now, a lot of the farmers choose to use none, and they look at how nature naturally will fight off insects through the natural process of growing things. And it's a science of how you do it. But then there are some, and I don't have any names in specific of who will do this. I just know that it's legally what it means is that they are allowed a certain small percentage of pesticides in order to still label it organic. The reason why organic foods tend to be more costly is because the government requires people who are organic, or farmers that grow organic, to go through all this red tape and paperwork that is very expensive in order for them to call themselves organic. And unfortunately, the only way that these organic farmers can continue to provide us chemical-free food is by going through this process, which is very expensive. And somewhere along the line, they have to recover their costs, which means organic food tends to be more pricey. The good news about this is that all the new markets that are coming up, even the streamlined ones like Safeway and Nob Hill and Rayleigh's and Lucky's and those things, they're starting to switch over to have a lot more organic foods available. And in fact, we just had a Safeway that opened up in our neighborhood, and the brand new ones are focused on organic. Why are they focused on that? Because people will always back the winning horse, okay? It's all politics. The more that people are demanding that type of food, the more that they're going to support it. If we were supporting junk food more, then they would support that more. So it's not a moral, but an economic decision for them to do that. And it just happens to work out in our favor. It did come with a lot of fighting. We tried to pass a non-GMO bill a couple of years ago, and it didn't work. but we realized that that wasn't really needed, because the way that you fight politically for what you want is by holding your money back from buying the items of the people you don't support, because they're putting poison into the food, and putting your money into products that are doing the right things with food. So because of that, more and more people are starting to label things organic. They're making them organic, or they're labeling them non-GMO. Non-GMO, GMO is genetically modified organism, and there's a great website that you can go to. It's called non-gmoproject.org, and you can educate yourself on what that means. And there's all kinds of health facts associated with that, and it can be quite complex. So I'm going to give you the basic way to start out having non-GMO in your home, with just starting out with 3 products. Okay, so the top 3 GMO products is tofu, sugar, and corn. So focus on those 3 things, and know that when you're going to the market, anything that you're going to buy that has tofu in it or is tofu, anything with sugar in it, and anything with corn in it, unless it says it's organic or non-GMO, you are buying a GMO, genetically modified organism. Now, the downfall to buying stuff like that, the GMO, is that it has been genetically modified and has been proven already, although they'll try and tell you it hasn't been proven. It's been proven that it's caused all sorts of health problems with people. And if you watch, there's a documentary, gosh, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's connected through the Non-GMO Project. His name's Jeffrey. Oh God, I can't believe that I'm forgetting the name of it right now. But if you look up non-GMO documentary on YouTube, you will see the documentary that will give you all the health indications of why it is important to stay away from GMO foods. Okay, so I'm not going to spend all my time discussing what GMO is, because there is a level of you needing to take responsibility for your own diet, and to watch the documentary. Take the hour and 20 minutes or so to watch the documentary and educate yourself on the food, so when you go into the supermarkets, you understand why you're avoiding the foods that have GMO in it. So keeping in mind that if it says organic, then you know right away there's nothing GMO in it. If it does not say organic, then you want to look for the non-GMO project approval stamp, and it basically is a stamp on it that it's kind of blue with a little butterfly on a little piece of grass or whatever it is, and then it says in bold letters, non-GMO project verified. If you see that little blue label, then you can feel safe that it doesn't have it, because they had to go through a process in order to be called non-GMO. Now, the next thing is it shows up in interesting places that you didn't think. So we think, oh, we eat a lot of salads and we eat salad dressing. Your salad dressing most likely has canola oil, which is from corn. If it is not organic, then again, that canola oil is going to be a GMO product. So one of the things I tell people is, don't try and go in and throw everything out, because that's extremely expensive for you to try and, get all your mise en place at once. So what I would say is start with a few products at a time. Okay, so as you run out of things, when you run out of your next salad dressing, start looking at the organic salad dressing. The funny thing is now that stores are buying so many things in bulk, like I'll use Safeway as an example, cross-comparing the prices, and they're the same, if not less, because they're buying more in bulk now than they ever have before. And when they buy in bulk, they can pass down the savings. So don't think that all purchases that are organic are going to be more expensive, because nowadays a lot of things are not. They're actually priced very well. Now, they might be a difference in, say, a canned organic beans, black beans, or whatever you're using. I'll just use that as an example. You might find side by side one that's organic and one that's not. You might see one that's on sale for 99 cents and it's not organic, one on sale for $1.39 and it is organic. Well, it makes sense to pay the extra, the few extra cents, 39, 40 cents. It's worth it for you to do that, because when you are putting that money in, what you're saying is, my nutrition is not something I skimp on. There's certain things, psychological things, that you have to overcome. One would be, walking out of the store with half a cart or less, or a quarter of the cart full, and you spent $100, versus having a full cart overflowing with the $100, but it's all non-nutritional crappy food. So one of the things that I had to get over was that psychology of seeing the difference, because I was used to seeing my money go a lot further. When you eat more perishable, meaning more nutritiously, then you end up eating everything by the end of the week, and then you go in and get the new food. So you have to get over that psychology, and you have to just tell yourself that this is something you're doing for your health. And when it's about your health and about nutrition, it should be quality over quantity. Quality over quantity. And tell yourself that whenever you're walking out of the store and you start hyperventilating that you just spent this much money on a lot less food. But remember that you have everything that you need for that week or that 2 weeks. So it requires a little planning and prep on your part to eat healthier, but you will still have what you need for that week or 2 weeks, depending on how you shop. Another way that I kind of had to look at it was, my eyes. Okay, you can buy contacts that last a month and throw them out, right? Or you can take them and say, I'm going to wear them until I can't wear them anymore. Okay, so maybe you can get by with 3 months or 4 months wearing the same contacts that should only have been worn for a month, but you're harming your eyes in the process of doing that. Is that a smart decision? No, it's smarter to spend the money, because this is part of your body, and you don't get a second chance with that, So when it comes to your health or something in your body, these are the things you don't look for discounts on. This is something that you want to invest in yourself. Other things exterior to you, like clothes and shoes and makeup and other things, then go for the discounts. But when it has to do with something you're putting in your body, then you don't expect a discount. You expect to pay for the quality over quantity. Okay, so that's just something I wanted to tell you about that, to help you get over the psychology of it. Tofu. I wanted to talk about tofu. Make sure that you're always getting organic tofu. For vegetarians, tofu is maybe a prime, it could be for some people a prime way that they get their protein, because it is a complete protein. A lot of vegetarians today, they're not only using that. The very educated, food-educated vegetarians understand that they're constantly feeding their body protein through, selecting the highest vegetable protein. Everything that they're eating, they're getting in smaller bits of protein, and they're doing this on purpose to make sure that the protein level they need in their body is sufficient. Tofu has been under a lot of controversy for different reasons, but one of the things I'm going to say is that, one, you never rely on all tofu anyway for your protein. You should have a balanced, you should get balanced protein and not rely on one food as a vegetarian to get your protein. The other thing is that if you stick to organic, then you don't have to worry about taking in products that are tofu, soy, well, I'll tell you, it's called soy isolate. Soy isolate is basically like junk tofu, okay? So if you get it in a health bar, you're going to look and see it has soy isolate in it. Now, you can consider that soy isolate as just like junk food, okay? So if you would allow yourself to have a candy bar, then you can allow yourself to have soy isolate, with the understanding that that is not a high quality food. And I'm all about balance. I love my good food, and like 98% of everything I eat is good, but I love that 2% of the chosen junk foods that I like, and if I want to eat them, that's what I'm going to do. And I think it's all about balance, because if you're eating more balanced than you are the junk food, then you're A-okay. So I don't think that anything that you do with food needs to be in extremes. I think that it's maintainable over time when you're allowing yourself to eat very well, but then still have those goodies as you want them. So I think that's all I'm going to talk about today. If you guys have any questions in regards to food or anything else that you want me to talk about, I would be happy to discuss vegetarian cooking, recipes, you name it. I mean, you guys let me know what you would like to hear in this regard on this subject. Again, I want to tell you to go to non-gmoproject.org, get your education, get the facts. They even have a little printout that you can shop and look at the way in which GMO products are hidden into foods. But the bottom line is just start replacing your food. As you run out of salad dressing, get an organic one or get one with the non-GMO label. As you run out of, different products, just start slowly switching over to organic, and start when you're shopping in the store and you think maybe you can't afford it, start looking at your options in the store to kind of prove that to yourself, because I think you'll find that organic foods now are priced very reasonably. Even the produce that normally tends to be the most expensive. And nowadays we're finding that some of them are the same price. When we go into Safeway, we'll see $1.99 for navel oranges organic, and then you look over at the other oranges that are non-organic and they may be the same price. And that's happened numerous times. Or just looking for the deal. Still be a deal shopper, but look for your deals in organic and then compare them to what you're seeing in the store. You'd be surprised. You'll be able to switch over. And at minimum, if you can't do organic, start looking at the Non-GMO project, because you only have one body right now. And I say right now because I believe you come back if you want to. But you've got one body right now that you got to take care of. And if you have children and a family, you want to pass on everything that you learn, and you want to, you want to create the best health for yourself and for your family, and this is the best way to do it. Everything starts with diet. If you have any health problems going on, you got to start with your diet and work from there. All right, you guys, well, take care. Thanks for listening. Send your questions or comments to me at sufani@themoonmama.com. Remember to visit the website frequently. I'm adding on some new things that are exciting, including a free library. So please check it out at themoonmama.com. And if you're not on the newsletter list, you want to be on, because every month I'm going to start just sending out a short bite-sized article of what I learned for that month, as well as telling you what's new on the website. So again, it's sufani@themoonmama.com, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day, and thanks for listening to the program. And please tell friends to grow our program. Thank you.